Well, after years of boom, it seems Australian housing prices are on the decline. The quarterly house price index fell 1.7%, further than analysts had predicted. Now, the worst hit was Melbourne. Prices dropped there 2.5% in the first quarter of the year, the biggest slump since the height of the global financial crisis.
Yeah, so despite the drop, is investing in bricks and mortar still a good idea? We took to the streets to find out what viewers think. Take a look.
When you buy a house, it can go up and down, but in the long term, you make a profit.
So if you invest in property, it's the best. You're never going to lose money because people, they always want to live in it.
I think it's a good investment because it's obviously investing in your life and place to live.
You know, our children probably won't be able to afford property themselves, so I think it's a good investment, but interest rates going up, I don't know.
Well, here to discuss whether housing is still a good investment or not and who can benefit from the slump, our finance expert Anthony Bell. Good morning, mate. Nice to see you. What are factors driving those house prices down at the moment?
Look, the overall one is always going to be interest rates because that's the direct cost associated with actually buying a home or buying a unit. Yesterday it was really strange. The Reserve Bank came out and didn't push interest rates up, but they are telling us that towards the back end of the year that they are definitely going to, which is kind of weird because, of course, you know, they're trying to stop inflationary pressures, but they're charging us more money to actually stop that. So that will really turn people off the housing market.
OK, so good idea to get into the market or not, with it slumping further than what analysts had predicted?
Well, it's kind of weird, Coles, because our grandfathers always taught us to buy at the bottom of a market and sell at the top of a market. So if prices are coming down, like anything, the property market in Australia will return and it will keep getting stronger. Every 10 years for the last 50 years, the Australian property market has generally doubled itself. So it tells you that in projecting forward, that property will only get more expensive. But to certain people who get burned in property, it is a long-term asset and it shouldn't be for short-termers or guys that are on Wigan and Prayer at it.
If we are looking at all these signals and getting a little bit itchy about it, where else can we invest, if not in property? Yeah,
and I think the first thing that any investor should do, Laz, is think, OK, how long can I put my money away for? How long until I'm actually going to need it? So the shorter the term, you generally go to safer investments like term deposits. If it's a medium term, you might look to some, you know, sort of geared equities, and you might even look to some guaranteed security bonds. And obviously long term, you know, things like property have demonstrated that, you know, people do make money out of property if they can afford to keep it.
OK, so that great dream of owning a home, great Aussie dream, is that becoming more affordable? Just a slight dip does not mean, you know, selling like hotcakes.
And one of the viewers in the street actually picked up on that too and said that, you know, if you don't get into the market at a certain point, some people will never be able to afford to get into it, you know, as it tracks. So, yeah, owning your own house does have a lot to do with how much savings you possibly do have. So that's also, too, a thing to start now to catch it up down the track. You also, too, need to make sure that you keep a really good deposit and a good job to achieve a loan, because the banks are really funny about just giving money out to people who don't have a track record of earning income. The big thing is that Australians will continue to want to own their own home, and the high immigration rate is probably kind of a weird economic factor, but because Australia is so prosperous around the world, our immigration rate's really high, our birth rate over death rate is high, and housing starts aren't that high, so it means that there's going to be a big demand for property and a lack of supply for it, which will probably have a push upward long-term effect on property.
Sometimes we lose track of that big picture. There's so many things plugging into this that's affecting it every day.
What's really weird, you know, people see Australia as a very prosperous place, so immigration's happening here, jobs are happening here, American companies are starting up businesses in Australia, and that will obviously have an impact.
Matey, we're done. I have a question without notice. I'm about to present Kylie with a birthday present in a Tiffany box. If I do that on the television, does that make it a tax deduction for me?
Mate, it does make it a tax deduction
Fabulous.
for you.
Thank you. That's all I need. OK, thank you, mate. Better than not being a tax deduction.
That's OK. When they audit you, Anthony will be right by your side.
You'll be there to throw the blue box to the tax office.
Thank you, mate. Good to see you.